A common problem with the Land Rover Discovery 3 is that of the tailgate failing to open when the switch is depressed. This can be due to a fault with the switch itself or a fault with the actuator. If the fault is with the actuator and the tailgate is closed, then that is more of a problem, but it can be fixed by getting into the boot and removing some trim. So the first thing to establish is whether the fault is with the switch or with the actuator. First, try pressing the lock and unlock button on the dashboard and holding it until the tailgate clicks. You may have heard that click. That click indicates that the actuator is still working and suggests the problem is with the switch. If the third button on your Land Rover key fob is programmed to open the tailgate, you can also try using that to open it. Sometimes the switch gets corroded, and this could be cleared by a spray of WD-40 or something like that, but first you have to remove the rubber covering by pulling back on it and just revealing the switch beneath. This switch doesn't look corroded, so I don't think that's where the problem is, and the switch itself is moving freely. I suspect the switch has failed. Pressing the lock and the unlock buttons together will only part release your tailgate. Okay. To get around that problem, have somebody else press the buttons on the dashboard while you catch the tailgate at the same time as it clicks. Having ascertained that the switch is the problem, you can either buy a replacement Land Rover one or for half the price a generic aftermarket one, which is what I've done here. With this aftermarket switch, you'll need to cut the connector from the end and just expose the two wires. Make sure you cut the wires right up against the connector so as to leave as much wire showing as possible. Then strip the insulation covering from both of the wires. Completely remove the rubber type covering from the switch. Then you can push a screwdriver behind the switch housing and prise it out. Cut the wires to the switch housing as close as possible to the housing itself, so that you leave enough wire to be able to connect to the new switch. Now, strip the insulation from the two wires. This part is a little bit fiddly. It would be best to solder the wires together, but to make life easy, I decided to use crimp connectors. With the genuine Land Rover switch, the wiring setup is slightly different, but with the aftermarket one, there is just the 2 wires, and it doesn't matter which 2 you connect together. When fitting the switch housing back into the tailgate, make sure it's the correct way round, so that the paddle of the switch is facing outwards. The job is fiddly in places and took me about half an hour to complete, but that's still a lot less than it took me to edit this film.